Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview for Villa's home clash against Brighton on Saturday.
So it's the end of the international break, Dan. We are back to Villa Park. Aston Villa v Brighton. How do you see this one going?
Good chance to build some momentum or continue the momentum. So it's a bit like when you win your last game before the international break. In some ways, you're like, oh, thank God we won. We needed a win. In some ways, you do want to carry on that momentum. But as I said in the podcast, the feel-good will still be there from that thrashing of Norwich. So it's a good chance to get those back-to-back wins that I think are so important in the Premier League, because that's what gets you up the table and that's what will get us away from the bottom rungs of the league in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the Villa side, Heaton obviously pulled out of the England squad with injury. There's no concerns that he won't be fit.
I mean, we're filming obviously before Dean Smith's press conference, so Dean Smith might come in and say something else. But from what we understand, it was more of a precautionary pull-out. He wasn't going to play for England, was he?
No.
At any point, so it was more precautionary than anything. So I'd expect to see Heaton lining up in goal for Villa on Saturday. I'd expect to see the same team.
That's what I was going to say.
There's literally no need to make any changes. I mean, Douglas Luiz obviously came on and scored at the end of the game, but I don't think there's many Villa fans that would change anything in that 11 at the moment.
Do you think Brighton provide a different test to Norwich? How I mean, is Dean Smith going to look tactically at this game and try and play a different way, or do you think he's going to go for the same kind of approach?
I think we'll go for the same approach. Brighton will be less open than Norwich, but that's not to say that they're defensive. They're a completely different beast from Chris Hughton's Brighton, who set up very solid, didn't they? That you knew what you were going to get with Chris Hughton's Brighton team. They got a bit more flamboyance about them now, Brighton. They like to play a bit more expansively. Potter's settled on this three at the back, but it's probably to solid them up a little bit. It had to have three centre-backs, but they're playing nice football and they demolished Spurs last time. I mean, Spurs are nowhere near the levels that they're capable of, but still, to take them apart 3-0 is a very strong performance and a strong result. So it's not going to be an easy game. They'll come and they'll try and play, and they'll cause us issues. But I always say on the podcast and whatever, Wesley is a lone striker. It's a difficult job up against three centre-backs. It's a hard job up against two centre-backs. So to be up against three of them, they've got Dan Burn, I think, who plays on the left, who's a big boy. Webster, who we were linked with quite heavily, and Dunk, who's been a great servant to Brighton and a great player. It's a good back three there.
Yeah, Wesley was one I was going to come on to, because obviously he grabbed two against Norwich and could have had a hat trick if he'd done better with the penalty. And I kind of highlighted last week that maybe that Brighton will be a bigger test for him than this Norwich game, and it certainly will be. And like you say, with three centre-backs, how do you see the kind of players around him? How do they need to help Wesley make sure that the Wesley reaches his potential against three centre-backs?
They just need to do what they did against Norwich.
Right.
Get closer to him. Wesley looked like he had a bit more about him against Norwich. I thought, as I said, his hold-up play was a lot better, the best I've seen from him. He needs to carry on. He needs to build. When he scored against Everton at home, and we thought he had a good game, the next game against Palace, he had a tough day. It wasn't good. So again, like I'm talking about back-to-back wins, you want to see kind of a back-to-back performance from Wesley. You want him to come in and prove himself and show what he's about. But I fancy him. I fancy him to do well.
For me, I think the wingers become even more important when you've got a back three. You've got Grealish and El Ghazi, presumably, who are going to be the guys that are supporting him. And Grealish, both of those guys like to cut in. So at times you're going to be playing what is effectively a 3 versus 3. If you can get those players running in around the back, if Wesley kind of drops in a little bit, you need the players that are going to go beyond them. And I kind of see Wesley as this kind of almost as a number 10, essentially, at that point, using the sitting players.
He likes to come deep.
Yeah, but using the sitting players, so he kind of draws out the players, and then Grealish and El Ghazi probably getting around the back. Do you think that's the effective way to outdo Potter's back three?
I mean, yeah, when men are doing that as well, what you've got to remember is that McGinn and Connor will come from centrally and get themselves wide as well. So it's all quite fluid, really, isn't it? We saw a lot in the Norwich game. Grealish was inside and Connor was out on the left wing. With a back three, I always think when the wing backs are obviously they're providing the width for Brighton there, solely pretty much the wing backs, because I think Brighton will play two up front. Yeah. So the wing backs will be coming on. So there's spaces out wide. You can get them, and then that's where, like Dan Burn, for example, I think is the left centre back. He's not got much pace. you can find him. You can find centre backs in areas they're not fully comfortable with. I think Webster on the other side is not much of a worry, but Dan Burn could perhaps find himself out on the left hand side in a position he really doesn't want to find himself, and that's where you can take advantage.
What about Brighton going forward then? We saw Aaron Connolly, only 19 years old, really burst onto the scene and make a name for himself against Spurs with 2 goals. He's a worry, but you think we've got enough to handle them at the back?
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know about Engels' fitness at the moment because he was carrying a knock as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He went off towards the end of the Norwich game, so again, he's someone I expect to be back. Mings is going to be flying. Yeah, he's going to be absolutely buzzing from his England debut. I'd expect us to be playing on the front foot and not having to do a load of defending. I think I'm saying that Brighton aren't the defensive beast they were under Hume, but I think they'll pick their moments to come forward. There'll be times when they'll want to try and frustrate us and then try and break. Connolly looks like a useful outlet on the break to me. He looked busy. He reminded me a bit of Robbie Keane. When the way he took his goals, very, very well.
He did, yeah.
Against Spurs, and he could have had more in that game as well. The kind of player Brighton have been missing, really, because you think to Brighton over the last few years, Glenn Murray's done very well for them. He's been a fantastic servant for Brighton, and he's been very, very useful.
Yeah.
They've kind of missed that buzzy centre forward with the movement that can drift out wide, get in behind as well. So it'll be a great outlet for Brighton on the counter attack. And as I say, this won't be an easy game. They're no mugs.
I'm not breaking any news here, but I love our back four, and Heaton included in that. I feel like we've really settled upon, and the Engels-Mings combination that just seems to have taken straight away. I just don't. I mean, this is rash, but I don't worry about our back four or back five at all. I feel so comfortable that everybody knows their jobs and everybody is Premier League quality at this point, especially with Target now at left back. You know, I feel like we could go up against most teams and I don't need to worry. We've seen a couple of small mistakes, but do you think maybe Brighton is where we cut those out and we have another assured centre-back performance, a whole defensive
Well, we've
performance?
made a lot. As much as I agree with what you're saying, and that the defence is very solid, and I like the look of all of them, we've made a lot of mistakes leading to goals.
I talked myself out of that argument halfway
We've made
through.
a lot of mistakes leading to goals. Even last game, we win the game comfortably, but then we have a whole Mings, Heaton, McGinn disaster, and we make another mistake that's led to a goal that ultimately is not costly at all, but it's still a mistake. So we're still at the point where I'm happy with the defence and I'm happy with what I'm seeing, but we need to cut out the individual errors because they will come back and bite you. In games like this, this will be relatively tight. I would think it won't be like a 5-1 like last week. It'll be a 2-1 to someone or a 3-2, I think.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about how tight the Premier League is over the last kind of couple of weeks, mainly on the podcast, but it's still really tight in there. You know, a win for Villa can take you up as high as kind of into the top 9, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, other results got to go your way, and Brighton are only a point above us at the moment. They're all huge, right?
Yeah.
We need to win our home games, but this feels like a very much a winnable game this weekend.
Yeah, I think just as easily as Brighton have had a game last time out against Spurs where they've done very well and won well 3-0. Exceptional result. They'd have never dreamed of a day like that before the game. I don't think. As much as when there's a new manager come in and he's trying to implement something new, I think you'll have days where you'll be brilliant and everything will come together. But I do think, as well as that, you can have days where everything goes wrong because you've not been at it a long time playing in that way, and if something happens in the tail of the game that you're not used to, and a game leads in a certain direction, I do think if you're not 100% used to the tactics and the philosophy, which the Brighton players won't be, same as some of the Villa players won't be, although Dean Smith's had longer with the majority of the group, I do think you can have those days where you're just awful, and Brighton are capable of that. I think so. Hopefully they have one of those days.
Yeah, absolutely. We're fairly set that the starting 11 from Norwich is going to be the same,
unless there's injuries. Yeah.
On the bench, do you think it's going to be a similar bench?
Kodja should be back, shouldn't he?
Kodja should be back. Yeah. Do you think he comes in for Davis, or you think there's 2 strikers on the bench at home?
I'm just thinking. Well, he was. When Kodja was fit, they weren't both on the bench.
No.
It's one or the other, and then Davis has got into the bench. Kodja will definitely be on the bench because he can play wide as well, so that's a useful option depending on how the game is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll both be there. So you've got the keeper, Konsa, Elmer, although it's been Taylor, hasn't it, the last few games?
Yeah.
Taylor, Douglas Luiz, Trezeguet, Codger and Davis. I think that would probably be bench. Because Lansbury was on the bench before, wasn't he? But I think you're right. At home, you'll want the two. You want the two strikers there.
Courtney Hawes must be looking at it and just going, feeling a bit frustrated that because he played so well at the end of last year and just hasn't really got his chance playing in the League Cup, but it's not quite enough.
Elmo will be not happy that he's gone from the 11 and now he's not even in the 18 either. It's part of having a squad, and you need a squad because you can pick up injuries and suspensions at any point. They'll be back amongst the 18 at some point. In some ways, Hawes would make more sense than Taylor on the bench because he can play left back and centre back. But I suppose Conser's probably there as the emergency right back if you had to play there, and centre back as well. So he feels he can have a natural left back that's his position in Neil Taylor on the bench instead.
Yeah,
but Hawes' time will come.
Yeah,
he'll be in the 18 at some point in the Premier League.
I feel good about this weekend. I feel worryingly optimistic.
You're going as well, and I can't think what your record's like at Villa Park.
It's up and down.
Up and down. Like your podcast performance.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Dolan's there as well. We're all there, aren't we?
No.
It could be any kind of result, but Rollo will be missing, I think, at work.
He doesn't know, does he?
Or no, I don't think I'd expect him to be missing, Dan Rollins. I mean, no one really needed the Villa View alumni team news.
No, that's true.
To be fair, I don't know why I came into that.
I kind of went with, I'm worryingly optimistic. What's your score prediction? That's where I was going with that.
I mean, last time we did a preview, we didn't do it sitting next to each other, did we? I predicted us to lose just on the basis I hadn't done that yet, and hoping that it would turn around and we'd win. That's exactly what worked. So I'm just going to predict us to lose. I say we're going to lose 2-1, and then hopefully the same thing happens again and we win.
Okay,
that's what I'm going with.
And
that's foolproof, that technique.
Goal scorer
last time. Goal scorer. I'm going to throw out. That's going to be McGinn again. I just always fancy McGinn at the moment to score. Yeah,
seems fair. I went for a win against Norwich, I believe. I'm going to go for a win again. I think we're going to. I feel like we're going to show a really confident performance that establishes ourselves. Like you say, we've kind of come out of the 5-1 Norwich win, come over the international break, and we set our stall out. We've got a tough run coming up, so we really need that confidence, and we need the 3 points as well. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win.
If we got 3 points on Saturday, I think 11 points from 9 games. You're reasonably happy with that, aren't you? I mean, you look back at all kinds of games, the Arsenal game, the Palace game, and think it could have been more, should have been more. But you're reasonably happy with 11 points after 9 games, aren't you, if you win back-to-backs now? Yeah,
I think so. I'm going to go 2-0, and I'm going to go Wesley, because I want him to score, I want him to do well, and I really hope that he shows us more of what he can do and keeps growing into a Premier League player.
Fingers crossed, mate.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.